From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Thursday, August 29th. Coming up, we'll learn how abortion funds that help women travel to Illinois for care are running out of money. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. Several teachers from Dennis Lab School in Decatur voiced their frustrations over inadequate conditions at Tuesday's school board meeting. They say there isn't enough, and that's caused problems like a lack of privacy for some student groups. Shannon Cook is an art teacher. Because she does not have a designated classroom, she is moved to 15 different classes each week.
I carry all my necessary supplies with me to my classes. With only 5 minutes to transition between classes, setting up and packing up can be particularly challenging, especially for projects that require a lot of materials, so this limits a lot of what we can do in art class.
District Assistant Superintendent Jay Marino says he and Superintendent Rochelle Clark have discussed the issues with the Decatur Teachers Union. They compiled a list of concerns and expect to deliver an update on how to address them at the next board meeting. Dennis Lab students and teachers are in a temporary location after structural engineers found serious issues with their original buildings over 1 year ago. The Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum in Springfield is making more than 1,000 Lincoln-era photos available for free online. As Alex Degman tells us, the public has never seen most of these.
The pictures have been digitized and enhanced, and until now, only researchers have seen them. They include portraits of Lincoln, some younger, some with a beard and others without, and others with his signature top hat. There are also photos of Lincoln's family into the 1900s. Hundreds of photos show renovations to Lincoln's tomb in the early 20th century, including crews moving his casket in 1901. There are also dozens of photos of Lincoln's assassination. The museum says the Illinois State Library awarded a $100,000 grant to the project and is hosting it in its digital archives. I'm Alex Degman.
The state of Illinois is probably getting a new flag. No one knows what it's going to look like yet, but starting after Labor Day, the public will get a chance to submit their ideas. Secretary of State Alexi Janulius is using dad jokes to encourage people from across the state to participate.
Let your creativity flow and run your idea up the flagpole.
People can mail their ideas or submit them to the Secretary of State's office online between September 3rd and October 18th. The newly created State Flag Commission will choose 10 designs for the public to vote on early next year. The winner will be presented to state lawmakers, who will then decide whether to adopt the new flag or keep the current one. Anticipation is building for the first presidential debate between Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and Republican nominee Donald Trump.
Traditionally,
there's a lot of excitement in the party for Harris, who became the presidential nominee after Joe Biden bowed out. But how are Central Illinois voters responding to the change? Now, until November, IPM's David Pierce will be checking in with Central Illinoisans as part of our Voice of the Voters series.
This is her second time voting in a presidential election.
She is, on paper, a more progressive candidate, I think, and is what the Democratic Party needs to at least have a better chance at beating Trump.
Bonner says former President Donald Trump taking pride in reproductive rights being overturned is a sign that Harris is needed.
So I think him just representing the far right now and like kind of taking our country back in a lot of ways.
After President Biden left the race in July, the Kamala Harris-Tim Walz campaign raised more than $300 million. NPR reports the majority of that money has come from first-time donors. First-time voter Hannah, who did not give us her last name, is from Monticello. At a recent farmers market, the University of Kentucky sophomore says it's empowering to see a woman running for president, but not necessarily enough to earn her vote.
I'm a very strong Christian, so I believe in voting as a Christian first. And with that, I'm going to be looking for, the values behind the different candidates.
Whether it's Trump or Harris, Hannah wants someone who promotes peace and love.
Those are my main values, loving your neighbor as yourself. And obviously that can be seen that in our country today that's not really being followed, and that really makes me sad.
As of mid-August, Hannah says she hasn't made a final decision on who she will vote for. According to a NPR PBS News Marist poll conducted between August 1st and the 4th, Vice President Harris is making inroads among black voters, white women with college degrees, and women who identify as political independents. That poll shows Harris with a 51% to 48% lead over former President Trump. David Pierce, IPM News.
Still to come, we'll learn how abortion funds that help women travel to Illinois for care are running out of money. That story is coming up next on 217 Today.
Next time on the 21st show, Illinois' 1% statewide tax on groceries is going away. The new law doesn't take effect for more than a year, but local governments, which rely on that tax money, are already talking about bringing it back. I'm Brian Mackey. We'll talk about taxes and the cost of groceries next time on the 21st show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. Talk of abortion seemed to be everywhere during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago last week. Illinois was celebrated for welcoming thousands of women needing the procedure. But abortion funds that help women travel here for care are running out of money. Kristen Shores has more.
One speaker after another energized the crowd at the United Center to protect abortion.
In Texas, doctors who have feared going to jail have sent patients to wait in hospital parking lots.
I'm here tonight because the fight for reproductive rights isn't just a woman's fight. This is about fighting. This is about fighting for our families.
And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
That's Alexis McGill Johnson of Planned Parenthood, Josh Zarowski from Texas, and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. But as abortion funds across the country cut back what financial help they can provide, doctors and advocates worry what this means for patients. The stakes are high in Illinois. More people travel here than to any other state to get an abortion. That's according to the Guttmacher Institute, a pro-abortion research group. One of the biggest abortion funds is in Chicago. It's run by Megan Jaifo.
Access has always been an issue in this country, and access is not what's being discussed. And while we're waiting for whoever to be elected and Congress to pass whatever, and I'm going to sign this the minute it's on my desk, that is going to take a long time. What are we doing as a community to address the real needs that people have right now?
As national abortion funds have cut back, patients and doctors are leaning more on the Chicago Abortion Fund to fill in the gap. Jaifo says the fund is set to receive about $5 million from the state, but she still needs to dip into reserves. The fund has started to turn patients away unless they live in or are receiving abortions in Illinois or 4 other states, including Wisconsin and Iowa.
Our biggest fear is that we cannot create incredible conditions for people to be able to access abortion care in our state and then have them only available to a select few, which is what will happen if abortion funds are not resourced. The protections in Illinois will only be available to people who can afford to get on a plane or fill up their car with gas and pay for a hotel and take off of work, et cetera, et cetera.
Dr. Allison Cowett is the medical director of one of the biggest independent abortion clinics in the U.S. It's in Chicago. She fears what will happen to her patients. About 30% of them come from other states.
Our staff that answers the phone is totally unused to having a conversation with people about bringing large sums of money to the clinic. And it's heartbreaking.
Now staff is being trained how to make the ask. An abortion in the first 3 months of pregnancy typically costs around $500. All of this is raising questions about who could step up to help pay for and even expand access to abortions. Some people point to Cook County's public health system. It's one of the largest of its kind in the country and treats a lot of uninsured patients. County Board President Toni Preckwinkle has been relatively quiet about abortion compared to city and state leaders. She says she supports reproductive rights, but doesn't talk about it much for safety reasons.
Protecting our patients and protecting our healthcare providers has to be our first priority, and that takes precedence over promoting the services that we provide. And I don't want, frankly, to be in a situation where anybody who comes into our hospital has to cross a line of protesters who, knowing that we provide full-scale reproductive health care, have decided that they are going to, picket or protest our hospital.
This summer, the county added more days when patients can get abortions. JEFO wants to see a creative federal fix, like how the government rallied during the COVID-19 pandemic and gave local governments, including Cook County, money to help recover. For her, this is deeply personal. JEFO thinks back to her own abortion about 25 years ago in Milwaukee. She says it was an awful experience. No financial or emotional support. The kind the Chicago Abortion Fund provides. Kristen Schorsch.
And finally, in your forecast, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard says today will be mostly sunny with a high of 90 degrees. That's it for today. 2 and 7 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Anuliko Ochuba, Alex Degman, David Pierce, and Kristen Schorsch. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 2 and 7 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.